All right, so I've been breaking down the best new metal albums every weekend for about 2 years now, and it's not hyperbole to say that this week is easily one of the most stacked weekends of killer releases, and it was by far the hardest to only pick 5. But here we are, I'm bringing you my top 5 favorite metal albums of the weekend. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, John Barbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's album art of the week. And before we do the top 5, there were a couple of really big releases that bear mentioning, and then we'll jump right into it. There's a new record from See You Space Cowboy, that's one word. It's called Cuda. This is noise/mathcore out of California. Really weird, but also melodic. Check it out. And it doesn't get much bigger than this. The OGs from the UK, My Dying Bride with Immortal Binding. I got my hands on this one early. Y'all know what that means. My written review is already published in Metal Digest. Links in the description to all my writings. I had a lot to say about this one. This is a rare 9 out of 10 for me. And it had a lot to do with the production on this one. And of course, the songwriting. You'll definitely want to check this one out. And just like My Dying Bride might be considered the leader of their genre, Antichrist Siege Machine with Vengeance of Eternal Fire, they very well could be the leaders of war metal. And yet another huge album that I was privileged to get my hands on was the Melvins, Tarantula, Heart, the OGs of sludge metal. Once again, my written review's already published in Metal Digest. This one was very experimental. It goes in all kinds of different directions, but it still has that very Melvin sound that you can just grab a hold of. It doesn't weird you out, it's just unexpected. Cool, check it out. One more before we do the top 5. I love this band. High on Fire, Come Up the Storm. It's Matt Pike. I mean, come on, it's gonna be riffs for days. Coming in at number 5, Opium Death with Genocidal Nemesis. This is death metal, kind of like some thrashy death metal out of Illinois. And I gotta admit to you, I don't like the production on this one. And despite how much I don't like the production, the groove and the heaviness just cuts through that dislike. And I found myself headbanging, even though that's how good it is. And this unsigned band, I think one of you big labels need to check this one out and sign this band, put them in a studio with an engineer that knows how to capture what they do, because what they do rules. It's that filthy death metal with that lip curling groove. And they've got 2 vocalists, one who does the deep death metal growls and the other who does more of like a hardcore gang chant, thrash metal sort of vocal. I love what this band is doing, and I want to hear more from them. Coming in at number 4, Dawn of Ashes with Reopening the Scars. This is industrial melodic blackened metal out of Los Angeles. Think with the industrial part kind of 90s, 9 Inch Nails, early Marilyn Manson, but it's more legitimately metal with black death vocals. It's so hard to explain because it's so novel, and that's why I loved it. You will too if you check it out. Coming in at number 3, Bloody Falls with Amartia. Or is that Amartia? I'm not sure. Text on the screen just in case, and as always, every band's Bandcamp links will be in the description so that these albums are easy to find. This is groovy, melodic death metal out of Finland. It's got the groove of, say, like Lamb of God, Machine Head, but the riffs are more mellow death, especially the leads, and this singer is absolutely on it. I very much enjoyed this one. You will too if you check it out. All right, I got to put a disclaimer for the rest of the episode, okay? Number 2 and number 1, I can't decide. I absolutely love these records. Both of these records are going to wind up being on my album of the year list. I'm sure of it. So we're going to call number 2 1A. We're going to call number 1 1B, because I reviewed both of these for Metal Digest. I got both of these early, and I gave both of these 9 out of 10s. And I try not to hand out 9 out of 10s all willy-nilly like. But these albums just absolutely blew me away. They're going to be ones that I come back to, not even just at the end of the year, but for years to come. So let's jump into it. We're going to go with my podcast guest from this week, Folterkammer, with Vibermont. And this is, if you didn't catch the podcast, operatic black metal. And I've said it on this podcast many times that while I think death metal has a higher floor, tends to be better to me, black metal has a higher ceiling. And this is an example of black metal achieving that high art status. This is elegant while also being extreme and explosive. I mean, they're writing Baroque music with 3-point harmonies and cantatas, but it's also evil. And hey, before we do number 1, I want to thank you. I want to thank you all who have already bought your Heavy Metal Philosophy merch from johnbarbas-shop.fourthwall.com. Links in the description. And because I'm so thankful, I want to do something for you. I really appreciate the support. We already did the launch with a 10% discount. So those of you who have already gotten merch, if you post a picture on social media of you wearing your merch, and if it's in public or at a concert, bonus points, you tag me in it, I would absolutely be thrilled by that, and I will send you an additional 15% discount. And you just bought merch, so you don't have to jump on it right now. We'll hold it for, I don't know, the rest of the year or something like that. I just want to see you with your merch on social media, me tagged in it, Heavy Metal Philosophy, links to all of my social media in the description. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button so that the word about these bands I'm talking about gets out there. Once again, really appreciate the support. Now let's do number 1. Coming in at 1B, Atrabilis. How do you say that? When the A and the E are combined like that, does it change the pronunciation? Let me know in the comments how you pronounce that. The name of the record's Homicide Tech Death out of Vancouver. And what I said in my review for this one is going to be one of the measuring sticks by which I judge other tech death albums. It is so brilliant. I love that these are really songs first and not a show-off fest. They managed to play technical riffs that are impressive, but more importantly, there's a melody I can hang on to and remember in my head. When they do a squeal, a pinch harmonic, a slide, one of those tricks, it's not just to give contrast to the chugs, it's actually a part of the melody. And when they do that tech death thing that so many of those bands do with the syncopated triplets, that blah, blah, blah thing that tech death bands do, they don't overuse it. It's just there as a real cool little thing before the next riff. Then you got the insect vocals, just so many unique and novel things going on with arrangements that keep the heaviness going. Absolutely thrilled with this one. And speaking of thrilled, I still have the Dealer's Choice segment and album art of the week, so don't go anywhere. 2 more albums to talk about. I love the Dealer's Choice segment because it gives me a way to talk about things that may not be so metal, but I still think you all would be interested in. This artist, her name is Martine Houth, or is it Martin Houth? I don't know, but this is unique. So it's a completely a cappella record, but she builds the songs with some sort of looping device. So she'll start with this sound that she makes with her mouth, and it's always different every song. Every song I was like, how did you even make that sound? And then she builds harmonies on top of that to make what would be what the band would do in a normal band, the musical and rhythmic part, and then she sings her jazzy poetry over the top of it. Just completely novel, every part of it, and every song as I'm listening, I'm like, whoa. And you can either trance out to what she's doing with her vocal parts in the background, kind of like in a meditative style, or you can follow along with the poetry and the masterful lyrics. This is different. I thought you might appreciate it. Now, back to metal, let's do the album art of the week. My favorite album art this week comes from Housed. Negative music. This is blackened hardcore out of Norway. And look at this. This is a masterclass in design. Whoever designed this, I need to get in touch with you and take lessons, because as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh wow, look at that. The contrast, the color scheme, the way the font goes with the subject matter, the placement of it, everything is masterful. You know, I do all of this all by myself. I designed the logo, I edit every one of these, I do all my own writing, everything. And you know, I'm not a genius at any one thing, so if I could do design work like this, maybe I'm in the wrong business, I don't know, but that is excellent. I saw that and I completely forgot what I was doing. I was so impressed with it. And speaking of being impressed, did y'all catch my conversation with Andromeda Anarchia from Folterkammer? It was fascinating. There was so many things that we talked about concerning art and philosophy, and she even told me the story of this historical opera singer who she got into sword fights with men and killed a few of them, and she wound up being pardoned by King Louis XIV. That's right, the Sun King. Fascinating conversation, which you can listen to if you just click right here. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.